Have you ever met one of those people who just has it? They walk into a room and, without even trying, they command attention. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not magic, it's psychology. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and break down the science behind that magnetic presence, piece by piece.
Right off the bat, let's just get one thing straight. This idea that you're either born charismatic or you're not, that's a complete and utter lie. Being irresistible isn't some genetic lottery. It is a skill that's built on understanding how people tick. And today, we're opening up the entire toolkit. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to shatter the biggest myth about charisma. Then we'll build our foundation with the power of calm. From there, we'll learn how to read the cues nobody else sees, get into some advanced social tools, and finally, put it all together to create what I call the gravity effect. Okay, let's dive right in and dismantle this idea. We're often taught that charisma means being the loudest, the funniest, the center of attention. But honestly, that's just noise. Real, lasting magnetism isn't about how much effort you put in. It's about understanding the subtle psychological currents that actually drive human connection. And this is what's so incredibly empowering. That mystery, that confidence, that irresistible energy, these are not random personality quirks. They are learned behaviors. They're the direct result of mastering your own emotions, having a quiet self-assurance, and seeing the social patterns that most people are completely blind to. Everything, and I mean everything we're going to talk about, starts right here with this one single principle. See, before you can influence anything out there, you have to master what's in here. Without this foundation, everything else is just an act, and people can feel an act from a mile away. Which brings us to emotional control. Think about it. In any conversation, in any room, emotions are like waves. They rise and they fall. But the person who can stay steady, the one who is the calm in the middle of that storm, they become the anchor. Our brains are hardwired to see that stability as strength, and that person, by default, becomes the psychological leader. This right here is the critical difference. Reacting is impulsive, it's emotional. It's basically letting someone else control your state. But responding is deliberate. It's creating a tiny little gap between what happens to you and what you do about it. And in that little pause, that's where all the power is. And here's the psychological payoff. The second you stop reacting, you become unpredictable in the best way possible. If someone tries to push your buttons and gets nothing, you've just broken their script. They don't know what to do. You've taken control of the interaction. People are, deep down, drawn to and respect those they can't emotionally manipulate. So once that internal calm becomes your default state, something amazing happens. You free up a ton of mental energy. Instead of constantly managing your own feelings, you can now point all that focus outward and start to really see the world around you. And this, my friends, is where it gets fun. We're now in the realm of social intelligence. And let's be super clear. This has nothing to do with being book smart. This is about being people smart. It's the rare ability to see the motivations, the insecurities, and the desires that people are trying to hide. It's a skill that is way more powerful in the real world than a high IQ. So what does this actually look like? Well, it's noticing that split-second flicker of disappointment on someone's face before they force a smile. It's feeling the shift when someone emotionally pulls away in a conversation. It's walking into a meeting and instantly understanding who holds the real power, regardless of titles. It's about reading the music behind the words. Okay, so we've got our calm mind, we've got our sharp awareness. Now we get to use the fun stuff, the specific communication tools. Think of these as psychological levers that let you create real connection and intrigue. I want you to think about this for a second. We live in a world that is just screaming for attention, right? Everyone's talking. So how do you make your words land with more weight, with more impact? The answer is completely backward from what you'd expect. You don't add more words, you add more silence. A well-placed, powerful pause can make what you say feel 10 times more important. So here's how you do it. You make your point clearly and concisely, and then you just stop. You shut your mouth, you resist that incredible urge to fill the space. Let the silence hang there for just a second longer than what feels comfortable. You'll literally see it happen. People will physically lean in, waiting for what's next. That's how you command a room. Now here's another lever, your voice. When your pitch goes up at the end of a sentence, it sounds like you're asking a question, like you're seeking approval. But when you consciously drop your tone down at the end, it signals a statement. It signals certainty. Speaking calmly, maybe a little bit slower than normal, communicates that you are in total control. Your tone tells a story of confidence before your words even have a chance. Okay, this next one's a bit more advanced, but it is a game changer. It's a psychological principle called intermittent reinforcement. It's the reason slot machines are so addictive. See, if you give someone 100% of your undivided attention all the time, they start to take it for granted. But if you give them, say, 80%, if you're present but not always completely consumed, your full attention becomes a reward, and people will subconsciously work to earn it. So what happens when you combine all these pieces? The internal calm, the sharp external awareness, and these smart communication tools. Well, you fundamentally change the social dynamic around you.
And this is what we call the gravity effect. When you stop chasing people, when you stop begging for validation, you stop projecting that energy of neediness. And people are instinctively repelled by neediness, but they are incredibly drawn to self-sufficiency. Your calm, centered presence becomes like a source of gravity that just naturally pulls people in without you needing to do a single thing. And that's the ultimate paradox of attraction, isn't it? The less you seem to need approval from the outside world, the more the world wants to give it to you. You completely flip the script. Instead of you seeking their validation, your validation becomes the prize. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. What if true, deep charisma has nothing to do with performance? What if the most irresistible thing about you isn't the stories you tell, but the quiet confidence you have, the things you notice that others don't, and the powerful presence you hold without ever saying a word?